Hey folks, welcome back to our Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Apidaia. Apidaia is brought to you by Blue Flame Games. It's for 2 to 6 players, ages 10 and up, and games range anywhere from 45 to 90 minutes. Apidaia is a world exploring, worker placement, engine building, and resource management game. You will take on the role of a queen bee, managing all the aspects of your hive, building more workers, and exploring the world, gathering pollen and nectar in order to enhance your hive. All right, let's jump in and take a closer look. All right, let's take a look at some of the different boards and components here. So first we have the hexes, which are really primarily the flowers in the game that you'll be gaining nectar from and using to upgrade your colony. Now, there's also the round tracker, which is the seasonal tracker, which also outlines what the cost of things are and what the benefits that you will receive at the end of each round. And then you have the main field where you'll be placing tokens based on the player count, and you'll be placing them face down until they're explored. Now, the field also shows what upgrades are available to the players. Now, there's a deck of different types of bees in the game, and this is where the asymmetrical part of the game comes into play. Each of the players is going to get a different type of bee, but these upgrades will add to their abilities and powers throughout the game. And each player receives a number of pollen cubes. Pollen cubes are very important because what they do is allow you to pay for the cost of actions that you want to perform on any one round. Now, the thing here is that you also are going to receive a player board, which represents your hive. And generally, the hive and the bees are all dealt out randomly, but the rules do allow for you to go into a bidding war for the different types of hives that are available. But you have to burn your pollen cubes to do so. And the way we played was just the standard way where you randomly deal out the different elements for each player. And of course, you do have your bee tokens, which you'll put next to your board as well. Now, a couple other elements worth mentioning is this waggle dance board. You will potentially be using this to gain additional abilities and powers through the game if you complete the waggle dance. And then there's a series of cards which we'll get into. And of course, you have your nectar tokens, which are related to the different types of flowers that you're pulling nectar from. Now, the game is played over 6 rounds, and each round has 5 phases. Let's quickly take a look at those phases. The first phase is that you're gathering pollen based on how you developed your colony, and how many hexes and live bees you have in play will determine how much pollen you're going to get. Now, you have a maximum level of 15 pollen that you can start with. And then you're going to reveal a brand new bee quest card. These are cards that you can activate and then gather points at the end of the game if you meet the criteria on that card. And then you'll pass the first player marker as the next bit, and then you'll perform actions, which we'll take a look at in a minute, which is really the meat of the game. And then finally, the round ends with moving the seasonal tracker. All right, so let's dive in and take a look at these actions. You know, the big thing with these actions, again, is that you're using pollen to pay the cost to perform these actions. Now, the big one you're going to be performing a lot of, well, actually several of these actions are very important, but you are going to need to create more worker bees. So you start off the larval stage, and you'll take one of your pollen cubes and place it on a hex in your hive. And this is stage 1 of creating a new worker bee. Next, let's take a look at movement, because these are worker bees. They need to be out doing all kinds of things for you. So for every bee that you move, you have to spend 1 pollen in order to do so. Now, moving to the main field, if you land on a tile that is face down, you'll flip it over. Then you have a couple choices to make. First, you can just collect the pollen reward, and you'll look at the season track. Or you can purchase the hex that you've landed on. Now, purchasing the hex is actually a separate action from movement, but again, you'll consult the seasonal track to see what that cost will be based on that tile. And if you do decide to purchase it, then you will move it to your hive along with the bee intact. Now, the spot that you leave open, you'll add a new tile to that spot face down. A couple other little things here is that when you add it to your hive, if you've already got tiles there, you have to put that adjacent to one of those. If you don't have any tiles yet, then you can place it wherever you want in the hive. Now, the hive has a couple different things. You have single hex tokens and you have double hex tokens. If you place a token on a double hex token, then you get to choose one of the upgrades that are available to add to your particular type of bee, giving you more special abilities through the game. And if you purchased a tile that has an enemy bee on it, well, you'll destroy that bee before moving it to your hive. Now, a couple other notes on the hive in general. Some of the hives have different types of hexes where there'll be above and below ground hexes. So it's important where you place your tile based on a couple different things, your different types of bees, abilities, and what the seasonal challenges might be in play. All right, so back to movement. So one of the big things is that when you flip a tile in the main field, it might say seasonal challenge. If it does, you'll pull a card, resolve its effects based on the season that you're in. And you might move your bee to the waggle dance, or you might be moving your bee along the waggle dance track. And once you complete this, then you're going to get some major benefits for your hive. This is definitely worth doing. And you might be moving a bee to a quest card. If you do move to a quest card, that's where that bee will stay until the end of the game. These quest cards do a lot of different things and can gain you some points at the end of the game. And you will probably use movement for one main thing, is to evolve or build up your larvae to a full-fledged worker bee. So you'll move to a spot in your hive and you have to pay the cost and nectar of that spot in order to evolve that larvae to that worker bee status. So let's take a look at nectar next. So harvesting is all about gathering nectar. So every bee that you have in the main field on a spot that has flowers, you'll consult the seasonal track again and see how much nectar you can pull from that particular spot. So you look at all your bees and you look at all the different flowers available. Potentially a lot more flowers are there than you can actually pull nectar from. But you can pull and choose whatever colors that you want. And they're represented again by the colored cubes. Again, nectar is super important for evolving your larvae into full-fledged worker bees. And finally, other actions you might perform on your turn is any special actions you might have as your specific species of bee or any particular upgrades that you may have acquired. And so the game comes to an end in one of two ways. Either you've completed all 6 rounds, you've come to the end of the seasons, or one player has completed and built out their entire hive, which will trigger the game end. Now, you'll collect points based on how many bees you have alive, you'll collect points based on how much pollen you have, and how many flowers you have in your hive. Also, if you completed the criteria of all the quest cards that you have placed a bee on. And the player with the most victory points will be the ultimate queen bee. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form. So keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now with that said, this game has a lot going on, a lot of interesting choices to be made with your different bees. And I really felt like the theme really did come through. But ultimately, folks, if this looks like a game that would be of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it for me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando, in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.